It's time now for County-Wide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Brad Miller as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives here in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's County-Wide.
Welcome to County-Wide. I'm Paul David. Great to have you in the studio with us again today. We're going to be talking about the Spring Heritage Pecan and Wine Festival. That's going to sound a lot different to a lot of people out there, but it's coming up Saturday and Sunday. This coming Saturday, March 29th and 30th. Camp Verde Economic Development Director Steve Ayers is in studio today, as well as the Executive Director for the Verde Valley Archaeology Center, Ken Zoll. Welcome back to both of you.
Thank you.
Because you've been here before, but I have not interviewed either one of you before.
First time for everything.
There is. Let's get right into it. Let's start with you, Steve. Let's talk a little bit about what made this change, because I've heard of the Archaeology Festival and I've heard of the Pecan and Wine Festival, but this year we've kind of clumped a bunch of things together.
Yeah, it was an idea that's been evolving over the last year. We brought all of our volunteers together in the same room. Then they were all putting on different events all over town throughout the year, and they all had the same common complaint: we never have enough help. There's never enough volunteers. Mm-hmm. So in March of last year, we pulled them all together in the same room and we said, you know, behind each one of you that represents these organizations are literally probably 100 volunteers. And we could put on some really, really fantastic events if we all worked cooperatively on it. So last summer, the first event we worked cooperatively on was the Corn Fest. And an event that had maybe 15 volunteers had 67 individual volunteers.
That's a lot of help.
It is a lot of help. So we realized we were onto something. And we used the same model for Fort Verde Days last year. And then we began to work this idea of a heritage festival. Has a couple of foundings. Ken's organization, the Verde Valley Archaeology Center, had been involved along with the Historical Society in the celebration of Arizona State Parks' it's Archaeology and Heritage Awareness Month?
Yes, Heritage and Awareness Month.
Okay.
Right. So, and then we started thinking about Camp Verde's heritage. And our heritage is really agriculture, it's the river, it's archaeology, it's this history that really kind of defines the town. So we had events going on individually around that time of year. The Pecan Wine Festival was happening in February. And we had a river race that was happening in the middle of March. And then Ken's event, which was the Archaeology Fair, was happening at the end of March. So we thought, what if we just took them all and balled them up together, centered them around the end of March when the weather's usually really nice. It's a good time to go boating. It's a good time for people to come to the Verde Valley.
Spring is sprung.
Spring is sprung.
Yeah, everybody's ready to get back outside again.
So that's how it evolved. And the synergy has just been enormous. And we have had a really dedicated group of volunteers, 20-some people, over 20 people attending meetings now since October, planning this event and trying to pull all these pieces together. So what we have now is a 3-4 ring circus going on down there all day
That's pretty
Saturday
awesome,
and Sunday.
Now, is it going to be spread out all over Camp Verde, or is it going to be kind of centralized in a few locations in Camp Verde?
It's going to be centralized pretty much around the area of Fort Verde and the town community center,
okay,
and its soccer field back there. The Wine Pecan Festival will be on the soccer field. The Archaeology Center's event will be in the community center and at the Archaeology Center, which is these are right on the corner of Holloman Street. And then other events will be taking place in an area pretty close to that. But the downtown area, we expect it to be just a generally lively area throughout the weekend.
Let's hope so, right? Lots of people walking and checking out the shops as well while they're down there and doing Camp Verde for the weekend.
Exactly.
Saturday and Sunday. Looks like everything starts kind of at 9 o'clock each day.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock on Saturday and 10 o'clock on Sunday.
Okay.
And, well, Fort Verde opens at 9.
Fort Verde starts at 9. That's what I'm seeing right there. Fort Verde State Historic Park will be open at 9, but most of the festivities start at 10, like the Verde River Runoff.
The Verde River Runoff will actually take place at White Bridge, which is where Highway 260 meets the Verde River as you head through Camp Verde on your way to Payson. And they will launch the boats at 10 o'clock, and that race is a 10-mile race.
Is that something you're pulling into this one as well? Because that seemed like it was its own event as well. That people would
its own event.
Line up for their boats and then jump in and go on down.
The heritage thing, and talking about the river, so we had this wonderful river event going down there. We had over 100 boaters coming from all over the state to run a race from White Bridge down to Beasley Flat.
Right.
So we thought, hey, let's roll that together, and your guys, we give them all discount coupons for those that are participating in the race, and they come back over and go do a little bit of wine tasting, and about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we'll give out the awards for the for the boaters there. So we just
It's a good idea.
roll it all in.
It's a really good idea to have everything kind of lumped together like this. A lot of stuff is like from 10 to 4, and there was a couple of things I really wanted to make sure I hit because they kind of intrigued me, and I'm hoping it intrigues other people. But the George Hance House. What is the George Hance House?
It's one of the properties owned by the Camp Verde Historical Society.
Okay.
George Hance was one of the earliest pioneers in the Verde Valley. I believe George came here in about 1868, roughly.
Okay.
And
What was his claim to fame here while he was here?
well, his claim to fame was he ended up becoming a judge.
Okay.
And he has an interesting story. He was a rather independent sort of guy who railed against prohibition, but was presumably a teetotaler. He used to swear people in his courtroom on a copy of Dana's Mineralogy, which was a textbook for geologists. He said it contained as much truth as the Bible did. Therefore,
Wow.
So George was a rather eccentric character.
Yeah, stepping out there back then.
And he lived to be almost 100 years old. He eventually passed away in California, but he lived in Camp Verde until around 1920 before he moved over there. But this house he built in about 1916, 1917 for his second or third wife. I'm not sure which one it was. And it sits right at the very end of the parade ground at Fort Verde. So the Historical Society have that open, giving tours of it. George Hance, reenactor, will be there telling a few stories of George. And
okay.
It's very entertaining. It's worth it. If you're in Camp Verde, it's worth the stop over there to sit in on that.
That'll be a lot of fun. And then I noticed also that we've got the 1933 rock jail, and then at the same time going on, it sounds like almost in the same place, at the same place as the blacksmith demo.
Right, that's
As
right.
we know, blacksmith was very important back in the day. You had to have a blacksmith, otherwise you had no metal products going on. So that'll be really neat.
He repaired everything in those
How many
days.
blacksmiths do we have?
Well, I think they'll have 2 or 3 of them there this year
Really?
for this
Okay.
one. And there's a lot of artisan blacksmiths in the Verde Valley. They do utilitarian stuff still, but most of them are artisan blacksmiths, and they'll be there demonstrating some of their techniques. And if you haven't had a chance to sit in there on one of the other events, it's worth just coming over there and pulling up a chair and watching what they do. They really put out some remarkable products, and these guys are extremely talented, and they love teaching people and showing people what they do.
Exactly. We've got 1 minute left. When we come back, we're going to have Ken talk more about his events that will be taking place. But real quick, before we go to a break in the next minute here, this is also about pecans. And I asked you before the show started, how long have pecans been a part of Camp Verde's history? Because it seems like they've been there for a while.
Yeah, it's not something that just blossomed, so to speak, pardon the pun, but there were pecan trees planted right after the turn of the century on Pecan Lane, which is that stretch that runs from downtown out towards the casino. And I think those were the only trees that I'm aware of until I think around the 1970s. And a geologist came to town and was wanting to retire there, so he planted several thousand of them. And then more trees showed up and down the river area there in those irrigated properties. And it's an industry, small industry, but there is a pecan industry in Camp Verde these days.
Yeah, it's really something. Every time somebody comes in and talks about history about the Verde Valley, I'm always interested in what I'm going to learn about it. And there's always something. George Hance, it's the first time I've heard his name.
One quick thing for the pecan things, Summer Place Pecan Farm, which is down on Quarter Horse Lane, will offer to the public to come over there. Anybody wants to watch the race that morning at 10 o'clock. They will have
the boat race.
The boat race.
Okay.
As soon as they launch the boats over there, you can go down to the pecan farm. There'll be some signs taking you down there. They have a beautiful stretch right on the river. You can sit there, pull up a chair, and watch the boaters go by.
Oh, that is a good point. Okay. And more of this information is at visitcampverde.com. Visitcampverde.com has got a lot of information about this. Countywide, we've got to take a quick couple-minute break, and we'll come right back in just a couple minutes.
A full life, measured in seats, starts with the right ones early on. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Learn how to prevent deaths and injuries by using the right car seat for your child's age and size.
Know what?
What?
Since I got adopted, I've learned a lot about these humans.
I know. I mean, check out these two. It's Flirt City over here.
Yeah, I noticed that. It looks like my human is definitely into your human.
Oh, look! I think she's getting his number.
Nice.
Your human's got some sweet moves.
Takes after his dog. Oh, look, they're doing that thing where they put their arms around each other.
She kicked up a leg. It's like in the movies.
That's awesome. Looks like we're going to be hanging out a little bit more.
One of the areas still maturing in an adolescent brain is the prefrontal cortex. So when we take drugs, we alter key motivational circuits, changing the wiring needed for the cognitive function of the brain, until we can't totally deal with things like memory, thinking things out, and even learning stuff.
The signs are there. So is our help. Visit the partnership at drugfree.org for practical advice on coping with teen drug use.
When you're out there, there's no telling what you'll find.
I see it! I see it! Oh, look at you.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
Welcome back to Countywide. We are talking about the Spring Heritage Pecan and Wine Festival. I've got to look at it every time because it's different than the years past. But it's coming up March 29th and 30th. That'll be this Saturday and Sunday. Fort Verde State Historic Park opens each day at 9 a.m., but there are events taking place all day long. And you can find more information at visitcampverde.com. Let's give Ken a chance to talk a little bit. Last time you were here, you were just kind of getting started in the Verde Valley Archaeology Center. And we were talking about it, and you had some great stories. I told one of your stories just the other day. I don't think I gave it much justice, but tell me what's going on with you and what your role in this festival is.
Well, yes, we actually started having an archaeology fair and Native American art show 2 years before we had the Archaeology Center created. We actually started the shows as a fundraiser to be able to start and establish the center. And so by having a couple art shows, we were able to come up with some seed money and started the Archaeology Center in 2010. We started with just 8 individuals who were part of the Verde Valley chapter of the Arizona Archaeological Society. And we saw a need for preservation of artifacts, the heritage of the Verde Valley within the Verde Valley, instead of things being taken out. They have been since the 1880s.
I remember that was one of your big pushes too, just to keep our stuff local.
Keep our stuff local. That's how the Museum of Northern Arizona got started. They were tired of people taking things out east, so they were started in the 1930s. And so essentially we're trying to do the exact same thing. So right now we're up to over 350 members in just 3 years. And we're frankly a victim of our own success because we have constantly selling out lists of hikes and classes and other events that we have. But we continue to have our primary event of the year is the Verde Valley Archaeology Fair, which we started when we moved into Camp Verde. So this will be the third fair that we've had. And basically the fair has about 10 to 12 displays and exhibits on archaeology. You can learn about stone tools and pottery sherds and a whole variety of things. We have one company coming in that they go around the world recording rock art sites, and they're bringing some of their equipment to show how they record the rock art. And other things like that. The Forest Service will be there, the Park Service, Friends of the Well will be there to talk about their event. And then within the gym, we have 24 Native American artists that are Hopi, Navajo, Zuni, and literally every pueblo of New Mexico has someone coming to do their art within the community center or the old gym. And we basically gave free spaces to the Native American artists that we selected if they would demonstrate. And so if they're just coming to sell, they can set up canopies outside in the grass, which there'll be at least a dozen of those. But the 24 artists that'll be in the gym have all agreed that they will demonstrate their pottery making, their jewelry making, their katsina carving, all the crafts that they employ. And they are all high quality artists that we basically jury to get in.
Now, is this something, this art, has it been handed down generation from generation on how to make the art?
In some cases it is.
Okay.
There's one particular potter coming from from Zuni, and his mother was credited with actually reintroducing pottery making to the Zuni, which had been lost for many, many years.
Oh, wow.
And she introduced that and actually started teaching at like a community school at Zuni, and she basically single-handedly regenerated the pottery making industry and the old designs of Zuni. And so they will be there for the show as well.
Something big's coming too. I know it's not going to be part of this festival, but you've got something big coming, you told me at the beginning of the show. Back up north. A meteorite?
Yeah. Well, one of the things as we study the Verde Valley and what's going on here and has gone on here, I came across a very small 2-little-page article about a meteorite that was found buried within the walls of one of the ruins here in Camp Verde, and took a while for me to figure out exactly where it was based on the notes from the 1930s, but finally found the location. Steve Ayers, when he was with the newspaper, wrote an article about it as well, and in researching it, come to find out that the meteorite was discovered in 1917 by what they used to call a Native American Indian artifact hunter, and it was found wrapped in a feather turkey blanket and embedded within the wall of a pueblo. They actually built a cyst, big rectangular cyst, out of limestone slabs.
Would that make it sacred then? Is it like a sacred place? Or?
Exactly. It was on the east wall, so the sun would greet it every day. So that's significant.
Okay.
Right in the center of the complex, so it wasn't like off to a corner someplace. And feather blankets can take a year to make, and they're basically used just for ceremonial purposes. So this was very carefully wrapped in this feather blanket, put in this cyst, covered up, and then the wall was built around it to kind of bring a sacredness to the site.
Oh, wow.
And so the person who found it contacted Dr. Ninninger, who was the founder of the Center for Meteorite Studies at Arizona State University in the 30s. And he told them that he had this meteorite. He contacted the fellow, and he wanted to see where he found it. He brought him out here, met with the archaeologists of the Tuzagut National Monument at the time, determined that it was a Sinawa site, and he bought it for $75 back in 1935.
Wow.
And he eventually had it housed at ASU down in Tempe. And so I've been down there to photograph it, study it, do an article about it, just as a lark, I basically said to the director there, well, do you ever loan these things out to museums? And he said, yeah, sure. As long as you got insurance and you got security, we'll let you have it for 6 months. So we're working with them right now to have a special display at the center on prehistoric astronomy, and that will open up for next year's Archaeology Awareness Month, next March. So we'll have the actual 135-pound meteorite here. There's also a cottonwood meteorite that was found that nobody knows about, and we will have the cottonwood meteorite here as well.
Okay, but that's coming up in the future. We should probably get back on task.
Sure.
You also wanted to hit. You've got a few films coming up that you want to make sure we talk about this morning.
Right. We always do an International Archaeology Film Festival, and we're real excited this time. We were able to acquire a BBC series, BBC 4, called The Flying Archaeologist, and they did 4 episodes of this archaeologist that flies over sites like Stonehenge and Hadrian's Wall, the Thames, and he's located new discoveries by flying over these sites. And so they had 4 30-minute episodes, a TV show that they aired last May, and we were able to acquire these 4 episodes, first time I've ever seen in the United States. And so we're showing 2 of them with another short on this Friday evening at the Camp Verde High School auditorium. And then Saturday evening at 7 o'clock again, 2 more of those episodes with another short. And so those are both Friday and Saturday night starting at 7 p.m. It's $10 to get in, $8.50 if you're a member. And they will start at 7 o'clock. And it's about a total of about an hour and a half, a little over an hour and a half of the 3 shorts that will be showing both nights. Never before seen in the United States.
Wow, okay, boy. That's a lot of stuff. There is going to be a ton of stuff to do with these events taking place on Saturday and Sunday. You said some of it's going on Friday, too. You can find out more at visitcampverde.com. I'm Paul David. This is Countywide. We'll take another quick 2-minute break. We'll be right back.
Steal pills from my friend's mom.
We talk about all the common drugs, but never prescription medication.
I was addicted to pills.
Had I more knowledge, I would have done things differently.
Secure your medications and talk with your kids. Visit drugfree.org.
Thanks for calling the GED Pep Talk Center. Jerry Stiller speaking. Your level 7 in-your-face pep talk.
I can keep pushing. Believe me, I'm good at it. But at some point, you're going to need to start pushing yourself.
See, once you've got your GED diploma, you'll feel so good about yourself.
You tell them. You can't change the past, but you can definitely change the future.
That makes me so happy, I'm ready to bust out a dance.
Mr. Trejo, can I transfer this guy to you? My gentle technique isn't really working. You need something a little more
persuasive.
Yes.
You listen, and you listen good.
Hey, where's my sandwich? Terry? Terry!
Take it from me, the King DMC. It's a real cool thing to get your GED.
Get that diploma!
Now hold on and we'll find you free GED classes. Capiche?
Whatever motivation you need, we've got a pep talk for you. Get your GED pep talk and find free classes at yourged.org.
A single ember from a wildfire can travel over a mile. That ember can ignite and destroy your home or community. You can't control where that ember will land. Only what happens before it does. Visit fireadapted.org to learn how you can help protect your community from wildfires.
Ronnie had huge aspirations.
He knew he could get pills in the community.
He found his body in an apartment in Telford.
I never thought my son would take prescription drugs without a prescription.
Secure your medications and talk with your kids. Visit drugfree.org.
Welcome back to Countywide. We've got just a couple minutes left in the program. We want to direct you to visit campverde.com. There you'll find all kinds of information about the Spring Heritage Pecan and Wine Festival. March 29th and March 30th is when those 2 days are going on. Most of the events start, they run from what, 10 to 6 each day?
10 to 6 on Saturday, 10 to 5 on Sunday.
Okay, Fort Verde State Park will be open at 9 a.m. both days.
Free admission to everything, including Fort Verde State Park. Sunday from 1 to 4, there's a Welcome Home Vietnam Veteran celebration going over there.
Tell me a little bit about that real quick. Let's not brush over that real fast. The Welcome Home Vietnam Veteran thing, what's that?
Well, it actually started a couple of years ago in Sedona. They hosted it, and then last year Cottonwood had the wall over here, and then this Sunday we will host it in Camp Verde as part of the same festival. We expect several hundred vets over there, a lot of the riders that come out here on motorcycles, expecting them over there.
Good.
Great event.
Parking. We wanted to make sure we hit parking because, I mean, Camp Verde's not huge, but there's plenty of parking.
Right. We have about 900 parking spaces in the downtown area that we have identified, so there'll be plenty there. We'll also have a shuttle running from the Bashas parking lot into the town. It's just, not very far. It's a quarter mile over there, but you can go over there and park. We also have one at Cliff Castle Casino. We'll be running a shuttle from their parking lot. They'll be giving out coupons for $10 worth of free slot machines, gambling, whatever over there, and so folks can enjoy that. They're a sponsor for the event. One thing we do want to emphasize is this is really a family event. There's a ton of stuff that the Archaeology Center's got, hands-on stuff for kids. There's kite flying.
Catapults.
There's pecan catapulting for the kids.
Yes, pecan catapulting for the kids. I was picturing these big catapults out on the football field launching things, and it's not that. It's almost like the Boy Scouts with the soap boxcar races.
Exactly.
They're small catapults, but there's a competition for that as well.
There is. There's
pecan pie, I imagine.
Pecan pies.
Pecan foods.
Pecan foods, goodies.
Pecan wine.
I don't know.
Yeah, right. There's got to be pecan wine. There's going to be music. There's event vendors. What else am I seeing here?
Everything, we should say, everything is for free. The only cost over there is if you want to taste wine, and there's a $12 charge. You get a glass you get to keep along with, I think, six tasting coupons. And we will have 11 wineries over there. We'll have every major winery in the Verde Valley under one roof for the first time ever, I think.
Oh, wow.
All of them there. And it is great. The Verde Valley Wine Consortium has stepped up in a big way to make this a signature event. It's a fundraiser for them also.
Where will they be?
They will be on the field out back. We have a 6,400 square foot tent back there that will have a lot of vendors, cheese, chocolatiers, wineries, all under one roof. It's a lot of fun.
I think the weekend forecast is looking pretty good. I think it's upper 70s and breezy, so I think you can have a nice weekend.
I think we've been blessed with a good weekend.
Anything for you, Ken, that people need to make sure they stop and see?
Not really. We have the Archaeology Center itself. If you haven't come in to see our museum, you need to stop in on Main Street and see that event. We've expanded it and we've pretty much finalized it. We're almost done with the Children's Discovery area. We have an artist that is putting a mural of prehistoric life in the Verde Valley, and it's basically an interactive mural when it's completed, where they will come in and kids will get a little 5x8 card that's magnetized with, say, a pueblo, and they have to then find the pueblo on this mural wall, and it will attach to it. So it's kind of like a big puzzle kind of thing. So we have a lot of things to see. If you haven't been to the center, please stop in and check it out.
Definitely, definitely. Get to know your own backyard. Visit campverde.com. Guys, thanks so much for coming in.
Okay, thank you for having us, Paul.
That's today's Countywide. We'll talk to you again next time.